we have the responsibility. So we're looking into all the energies that sit around and like tie in. This is at the astral level. We're looking at all the ties, all the threads of creation that tie into the entire web that is the economic structure of our world, at least of the Western world. Africa is fairly free. Africa is free in some ways, some places, but here, and we're just looking at it. It's like this big thing. It's like this big seething monster, spidery thing, right? Just in time for Halloween, man. Whew. Um, and because we can see it in its gross material form and also see it in its energetic form, we offer this perception back to the source of creation. For God, it's nothing. For God is so big, it's nothing. God takes that big black spidery big thing and it's like it's shaking. I see it shaking. So here there's a shaking going on in the fabric of the energetic structure of the Western economic form. It has a form. It's like a living thing. There's some shaking, and then there's some soothing. There's shaking and soothing. And like the underlying field of God's grace comes forward and it offers like a balm. It looks like a balm very quickly. So a little bit shake, 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 and then shh. This is how the energy is moving. I'm just describing it as I'm calling it as I'm seeing it. It's not just money, guys, it's power. So the little shift that just took place with the shaking and the soothing was for the economic structure itself. But behind it, at a subtler level, is this phenomenal lust for power. Oh, well, we've bumped up against one of the big darknesses of our world, haven't we? God bless them all. And there, when I say the word God bless them all, I'm seeing something more that looks like a web of souls. A web of souls. There are not that many people that stand at the highest levels of society and that hold the strings of power. They're not that many. It's a web of souls. And the thought form that we're placing into the web of souls is the phenomenally powerful Jesus prayer. It's the one that came up. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy upon me. Especially important to have that name in there because the levels of darkness that are there, they have trouble with that name. For some reason, the name bothers those darker energies that are there. It acts as a kind of a counter influence to the darker energies. And I feel sorry for them, you guys. When I look at that web of souls, oh heavens, oh heavens, it's so rough. It's so rough. The darkness is so thick. It's so deeply integrated into the system. So get this, you guys. The answer back from it is I'm so big, you can't get me. You can't shift me. You can't stop me. And our answer back is we're not trying to shift you or stop you or change you. God's doing it. Just God's doing it. God's bigger. That's the answer back. It's real simple. We're just riding the wave. We're just watching the wave as it passes, right? This question went out to that big place. Amazing. Amazing. Very powerful. The move that's taking place, God interacting with the darkness that grips the elements of our world that are the holders of the power, at least the illusion. They have the illusion. It's an illusion They think they have the power. And that thought form that they hold that they have the power is so big and so sort of, it's such a strong thought form. And it's all the way down as a very abstract thought form, all the way up to the top, that it tends to be validated by experiences at the surface of life, right? They look out and they have a jet or they have whatever. I mean, I'm not saying that all people that are wealthy are bad. They're not. And I'm not even saying that these people are bad. I feel sorry for their souls, is the thing. But their souls are human souls. They're precious, infinitely precious, just like ours, everybody's. Remember equal opportunity? They have equal opportunity. They have equal opportunity to come to the lap of God. Let's look at the lap of God. When you refer to being in the lap of God, do you mean that literally or metaphorically? Metaphorically, from a physiological perspective, until the consciousness rises to the point that God is found in all things. Then you realize that everything around me is God's lap. This poster behind me is God's lap, and my mug is God's lap, and my microphone and my computer. But establishing the foundation in the lap of God happens at the deeper levels, causal through mental levels of the body. As I explored the field of thought forms, as we explore the field of thought forms, we get to subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler thought forms. There's the deepest thought form, the most fundamental of all the, before we enter the field of absolute unbounded quality-less being. And that deepest thought form is the lap of God. It's the caress, the eternal caress of absolute unconditional love. Endless, endless, indescribable, incomprehensible. That's the lap of God. And we experience it directly in deep sleep. And our next webinar is going to be on sleep. So that should be very interesting. Join me for that if you can. But first, it is established in deep sleep at the causal and astral levels of the physiology. We get a download for that right now. What that feels like, and how the heart is just melting and melting and melting and melting with love. So much so that at some point, the whole nervous system, the neural network around the heart just has to, it gets so full of that love that it has to kind of like rest. So it takes a break and it just transcends. And then the love becomes expanded as the nervous system goes into that flexibility, right? It becomes flexible so it can experience the love as this very intense, like a gem or something, like a precious object, this love, my love. And then but it also can be experienced at the same time as this infinite unbounded field of amness, silent, hardly recognizable as love, but so expanded that it literally touches everything in creation. It transcends space and time. It's also in the mental and emotional levels of the mind, because that underlying, that deep, 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 deep thought form, which is the foundation for union between individuality and divinity, right? Then as it starts to rise up into the emotional and mental levels of the mind, it starts to give rise to feelings and experiences that uphold and support that union, that reflect it. They reflect that union. I'm safe, I'm whole,